Hi. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the grade 1 pieces, A3, La Donna Immobile. I'm going to play the piece first of all, and then we're going to go into more detail about all the little things in the piece to get you the best mark you can possibly get in your grade 1 exam. So first of all, as I say, I'm going to play it. So here we go, and hopefully, I may make some mistakes, but hopefully this is how it should be more or less played. Okay, so let's look at this music in a bit more detail now. I'm going to deal first of all with the first phrase of the music. Now, a phrase in music is kind of like a sentence in English, okay? It's a little bit of music where you might have a comma at the end or a full stop. And usually, though not always, phrases are 4 bars long. And the first one here is 4 bars. So I'm just going to play the first phrase. Now, a few things to note here. Let's look closer at this music. The first thing is, written above the music, you can see it says, with a swagger. And that's given us a real clue as to the character of this music. So it's really got a bounce to it. What else? We've got 3 crotchet beats in a bar. We can see from our time signature here. We know that, hopefully, already. Lots of dots on these notes, these staccato dots to make these notes really short and crisp. But there is one little tricky thing, which is the left hand is not all staccato, it's not all detached. Look at these first 2 notes. We have to slur, that little curved line is called a slur, and then we're staccato. So what we want there is that one is joined, the C in the left hand or the little finger is joined to the G. And we come off on the G. And if I just play the left hand in that first phrase, you can hear every bar has the same, what we call articulation. Now it might be worth practicing that a little bit on its own to try and build that into your left hand, because the right hand is slightly different, as we can see. If we look at the right hand, all 3 notes are staccato. And then we've got slurred notes where they're smoothly joined together. If we put the 2 together, and in the next 2 bar phrase, we've got exactly the same articulation. You'll notice as well I'm playing quite loudly, and the reason for that, the F here, we can see that, indicates in Italian forte, which is loud. Now we start to look at the second phrase. Now, slightly unhelpful this, because the second phrase begins on the final bar and then goes on to the second line of music. So, not the ideal place to begin a phrase, right on the last part there, but that's where we're going from the final bar down onto here. Now the first thing we notice where the phrase begins, the second phrase, is the mezzo piano, the MP here. So this needs to be a little bit quieter than we were at the beginning. So it's a little bit more subdued here, no slower, but the same speed, just a little bit softer. So the whole phrase here, if I play that bar, and there we go, and that's all of the first section up to the double bar of music. Okay, so what happens next? Well, we're still quite soft here as we go from the double bar onwards. And we got that similar dotted rhythm that we had in bar 2 and bar 4. So let's have a look at this bit. So that's a really kind of like a short 2 bar phrase. What happens next is, as we move down on the music, the next 2 bar phrase takes that little pattern and moves it up 1 step up the piano. Now there's a couple of things here. The music is moving up by step, and as so often what happens is at the same time as it's doing that, we're starting to get louder, and you can see that crest there for crescendo is telling us to build up tone. So we're getting louder here. Couple of other little points to notice. If we go back to the first part of it, we can see more staccato notes. Look at these little accents here. These make the notes stronger. So if I play that, you can hear on that note, it has that little emphasis. And then we move down onto the next phrase here, a little 2-bar phrase. Same pattern exactly, moved up a step. And you can hear I'm getting louder. I'm going to continue now. So the next 2 bars, what's happening here? We're getting even louder. We've got an MF and we've got one of these signs here, which we call a hairpin, which is means getting louder again, up to F forte. What else to take note of? Rall. Hopefully you know that means slowing down. Rallentando is the word. So we're gradually slowing down here up to this point, which is probably the loudest point more or less in the piece. Now, what happens next? In the next phrase, a tempo. What does that mean? Simply back to the original speed. Okay, so I'm going to go from the rall where we're slowing down, and I'm going to continue into the a tempo. So listen how it slows down and gets louder. Then it's back to the normal speed. Okay, now right at the very end of the piece, using these dotted rhythms which Verdi, the composer of the music, uses all the way through this piece to bind it all together. We've got a little kind of almost like a horn call here. Okay, so between the hands, the left hand's moving up into the treble clef. It's loud, the first one. Then we have an echo. Then we're loud again. And that's the whole piece. So always take note of all the details. Every little mark on that page is an indication that the composer wants you to take note of something and to think about it. And it's going to affect the sound of the note. Now I'm just going to play through the whole piece once more. Okay, now we're going to look at how the piece works actually on the piano keyboard. Okay, now the good thing about this piece is certainly in the first 8 bars, the hands are really still. So if you start in the correct place, you've really got a 5-finger hand position, slight movement in the left hand, but very little. So you're covering the notes, C in the left hand to G, and the same in the right hand, not middle C, but C above, up to G there. And most of the, as I say, you have to go down to B in the left hand, but most of the time you can see if I play the first 8 bars, now I say that, but of course I'm now going to contradict myself because in fact just near the end there is a movement. So we come down here and it's actually when we get to bar 6 we come down from bar 5 to our thumb in the right hand, and we've got to repeat the thumb. Now the problem is the notes are going to come further down, so it's no good using the thumb again. So we need to change to a different finger, in this case a 3. And that sets us up nicely with our 4th finger on the D. And then we've got to do the same thing again. We've ended up with the thumb on A, change it to a 3. So now we're dealing from the double bar, and we have to move our hands up into position. F sharp in the left hand with the 4, 2 in the right hand on the D. And it's got a nice snug shape there. Now the next 2 bars we said everything moves up, so the hands just both move up 1 step. And then we move up again. Now we're starting to come down at the a tempo. And we have to put a 3rd finger over here the C's. We've got crotch at rest, we let go, and notice here the left hand's moving up into the treble clef. And we've got these sort of dotted rhythms again, they're all G's. And just an octave jump at the end to finish the piece off on the C. So there's a certain amount of moving around in the piece, but if you can keep the hands in one sort of more or less five-finger hand position, do. Only move when you need to. Keep everything under your hands where possible. I hope that helps. Some tips, really basically, about how to get the most out of this piece and play it to the best sort of level it can be played, and you will get the best possible mark you can in your exam.